Hey y'all, welcome to Truth Be Told. This is Percival. We're here to keep it real.
Tell you the truth.
Break down the stigma.
Inspire you.
Educate you.
And tell it like it is.
Today's topic and issue that we'll discuss is HIV awareness, and with all the information that's out there, why people aren't still wrapping their dicks up. So to me, I just think it's very foolish because people know the 5 fluids of contraction. They know how you get HIV, but yet it's still they want to say because condoms don't fit or that it don't get hard with a condom on it. I don't know. What's your opinion on the topic?
I think it's just so much information out there. People are just really blinded to what they really need to know. They get bombarded with all the stuff that we're trying to give them, and they're overwhelmed. People aren't being smart, and people just making their own choices and doing what they want to do.
Well, I think a big thing with it too, honestly, raw sex is hot. It feels good. It feels better. I mean, and that's what's so hard about it. It's how it feels different than wearing a condom. It does. But it's how can you tell me that I'm supposed to do this if I just want to feel good? I mean, it's it kind of you just throw that away. You're okay, well, I don't really care. I mean, in the moment. I mean, I'm gonna pick what I think is hotter.
But in that moment, they enjoying that. But then when they go to take that test, and then they get results.
But this is what I don't understand. Everybody like raw sex. Yeah, beat it up raw. You like all that, but I don't understand the people that come in and start crying after you done had the raw sex. You enjoyed yourself for that minute and you did what you was gonna do, and like you said, it's hot. But then when you come to the counseling office, it's oh my God, I didn't wear no condom, and that's the issue that I have with it. I don't mind if you have raw sex. You can have raw sex, safe sex, protected sex, but I hate when people act like they didn't know. Yeah. Even with all this information that we have out there. So I think that's really where I feel that we need to address, you can do whatever you want to do, but these are the consequences to your decision.
Yeah,
okay, well, how about you put yourself in another person's shoes? Okay, we've all had that, it just happened moment. Mm-hmm. So how did you feel with your it just happened moment?
Well, I kept mine 100. When it just happened, I had some bareback sex and I did contract the STD. I was the dude I was with. He was in the waiting room, and I told the nurse, "Honey, you need to go get him. He need a shot too." We was together, and I'm real about it. Sex is sex, and it's gonna happen regardless. And I just don't like the fact that it just happened. No, it didn't just happen. You knew when you called him on the phone, and he was talking all low and deep, and you was on your way over there, baby. You didn't leave your house without audition, so you knew what was gonna happen.
People just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think people don't take into consideration that health is something that's important. So definitely HIV is something that's not going to be cared about because you want to party, you want to smoke, you want to drink. Why am I going to worry about HIV?
I think the other thing is that a lot of people are gullible, and it might be due to whatever it is that they're going on at that point in their life, and then they meet that right person that tells them, "Oh, baby, I love you. I would never, infect you with HIV without, they just fall for the bullshit,
I just think a lot of it has to do with perception of the danger of HIV. Yeah, to a lot of youth, it's just they don't perceive that, okay, after my first or second time, from all the messaging and all the things that they see about HIV, it kind of is you have to be a whore or you have to be doing certain types of behaviors or activities. And even me working in prevention, when I first came in prevention, it was always painting a picture of the person that will get HIV. And I think that has a lot to do with it. If our messaging and our program was more HIV is a human disease. It's going to affect you if you're a human, point blank, period, no sexual orientation, man, woman, color, gender, race, it will affect us all. And I think that's what's the big mistake from the beginning of the epidemic was that it was all solely focused on homosexuals. It all solely focused on all these little groups in society, but it was never said that, okay, us as a society need to be better about protecting ourselves.
Mm-hmm. You think people feel invincible?
Yeah, of course. Shit, when I was 19 and I was fucking with no condoms, I wasn't thinking about HIV. I wasn't thinking about syphilis. I was thinking about getting my nut. And
even before I contracted HIV, one thing that I remember thinking was when I was going and I was just having raw sex with people, I didn't care. I even remember thinking that to myself. I was like, nah, I don't really care. Whatever, I'll be fine. And if I'm not, then I'll figure it out. It wasn't something that I wanted to think about at the moment. And then when I was forced to later, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? But yeah, And that kind of took me back to what you said. People just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't.
But even when I was having raw sex, it was more like I was very calculating about it. I thought I had a little system. Like I will always have raw sex, but I always pull out. Like I would never come inside them. Like I never understood all that, come dump in and all that. Like I just didn't understand that, and I knew that HIV was contracted through semen. So a lot of the times I would just, if we don't swap semen, if the semen doesn't cross over, then I felt I was protected. So like I'll say for myself, when you really want something, you'll make those truths to, be known to yourself. You're going to lie to yourself enough so you can go hit that wrong. Yeah, and you're going to find the loopholes, just like you said. You know what? And I think a lot of my views are strong because I do work in public health, and it's kind of like I get this information all day long, and then when I hear people make these excuses, it's like, then I don't want to be nice to you when you come in. And it's not that I'm going to be mean to you, but just like you said, you have your own decisions to make.
Okay, but before you worked in public health and before you had all the knowledge that you had, what was your... You still had the same mindset?
I was still, because it was so... The danger of HIV, or the perception for me and HIV, was that if I became positive, I would become a statistic in my mind all the time. And I knew as a black gay man, the world already had me set up to be HIV positive. Like, in so many words, it was already in my mind that I need to do better. I need to be 10 steps ahead of the game, because they already think I'm slacking off. They already think that I ain't about shit. So I have to make sure that I'm going to go forward, protecting myself and not bringing that to myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I always thought. So that's why, to me, when I hear people of my generation say, oh, well, I don't use condoms because this, that, and the third, I'm like, okay, well,
be ready.
We not finna have a pity party. Like, you still gonna be my friend, you still gonna be my loved one, but don't expect me to cry with you when you get HIV. There's consequences to every decision. And nowadays, it's not like HIV in 81. You get HIV now, you pop your one-a-day pill and you cruising. People won't even know you have HIV. Back in 81, 82, 83, people dying, losing body parts, sarcomas. They were really being affected by HIV. This generation has not seen nothing like that. So I think all the little excuses, they just excuses.
So that's probably, to go back to the question, like with all the information out there and why people aren't wrapping it up or getting tested and stuff like that, all the information knowing that HIV isn't a death sentence anymore could be keeping people from thinking like, oh, it's not that serious. If I get it, I pop my one pill, whatever.
Right.
So you're saying this generation hasn't seen enough of the ugly side of it?
They have not.
I haven't seen anything of it. I mean,
we haven't.
We got it too easy.
It's very normalized. Like, there's a large population of my friends that are positive. Like, I'm the exception to the rule in my group of friends. Like, oh, you're negative, but a majority of all the black men are positive across the board. So it's like, when you're in an environment like that, it kind of relaxes you to be like, okay, well, it's going to happen. It's going to eventually happen. Like, I think us as black men are always prepared for that other shoe to drop. So that's why a lot of the times it's like, fuck it. Get money, do what I'm going to do, because it's going to happen anyway. I'm going to go to jail anyway. I'm going to end up smoking anyway. Like, it's already built in our mind frame and our culture to kind of believe that you're going to fuck up. Yeah. Who knows what the Truvada whore is?
Okay, first off.
Yeah.
But wait. What is Truvada?
Okay, so pretty much what Truvada is, it's HIV medication. Mm-hmm. You can get on the regimen. What you'll do is you'll take one pill a day, preferably at the same time every day, and it can reduce your chances of contracting HIV by 99.9%. Okay. If you're adherent to the medication properly. So when Percy uses the term Truvada whore, he pretty much means somebody who's on Truvada, but there's a name for that. It's a program called PrEP. Okay. So pretty much like you can go to like not your local clinic, but they have certain testing sites or clinics that can get you on a PrEP regimen and so on and so forth. But a lot of people, it's a lot of stigma around PrEP and Truvada, because a lot of people think that, oh, well, just because you're taking Truvada, then you're out here whoring around and you fucking on, everybody you see. When that's really not the case.
I just wanted to throw the term Truvada whore out because it's become real popular in the media, especially when it comes to PrEP, which, is the pre-exposure prophylaxis, and people using it. And the reason that sometimes I struggle with dealing with PrEP, and the reason I struggle with dealing with PrEP is that it's being offered to a population of people that are not educated about it. You know what I'm saying? They're not staying on the regimen like you. And that's what I kind of want, why I wanted to bring the conversation up, because it is individuals like Frankie that are on PrEP, they're adherent to their regimen, they're taking the medication, and he's fully aware and educated of it. And I wish everyone would be like Frankie, and I love that Frankie can explain that. But I'm talking about the individuals that are out here that have no education about it. They just walked in and seen magic pill prevents HIV, and they're like, oh, I want to sign up for that. Wow. Now that's what I want to talk about, because we're already making the excuses. Oh, I don't want to use condoms because it's not hot. I don't want to use condoms because of this. So what if you just out drunk, you forgot at 9 a.m., and now you're in this situation with this individual, and you're going to have sex if you want to have sex, right? So therefore, you're putting yourself at risk. And that's the only thing I'm saying, is that I don't want people to blindly think that, okay, I'm just going to pop this pill and that's all I need to do. Because the pill protects against HIV. It doesn't protect against STDs. And that's my thing. When I first heard about PrEP, I was like, well, that just means all the girls going to have syphilis, gonorrhea. Right. You know, they going to be in the third stage, blindness. Their kidneys going to be failing. And they going to be all about the HIV. But girl, you dying from syphilis. You know what I'm saying? You got herpes and you wonder why your asshole bleeding, honey, and you just, oh, but I don't got HIV. But there's still things. That's why I say a lot of times it's part of the prevention package. But Truvada PrEP is not the main thing you should still be on. There's still things you can catch outside of that. And I think that's the information that really needs to go into the community, is that you still have to protect yourself against other things. You know, HIV is bad, but there are worse things than HIV out there.
Annoys me is when in this field there's been so many mixed feelings on PrEP, and everyone's like, no, we should talk about it. No, you shouldn't be pushing this on people. But regardless of whether we or not we should, it's here already. What annoyed me was this morning, I read this thing about how AHF has started a campaign completely against PrEP. And this is like $1 billion corporation that's supposed to be helping people with HIV and like living with AIDS and all this stuff, but with something that is so effective against preventing this, you're all against it. And I understand, because a big part of it is like what you were saying, people they fear that nobody will take the pill, like Michael Weinstein has said. The truth is that people aren't going to adhere to the regimen. So like, be personal with me, tell me what works for me, and yeah, that takes more time and more money, but if you really care about people, isn't that what we should be doing?
But it's never personal, because they always trying to do the government study, so they're basically basing it off a general consensus. It's never off a general consensus, because then that way you can't get personal. So it's like, how can I come talk to you, but then worry about everybody else? Now I got to worry about everybody else at once and see what effectively is going to work for everybody.
But I also worry about that, because it's like, sometimes I feel like you always got to hood it up or dumb it down, especially in our communities. You know, it's always like, what y'all doing, y'all? Y'all want to try this? It's very coonish to me sometimes. And I don't want to see, I get tired of seeing the advertisements with two dudes kissing, one in a do-rag and one wearing some Timberland boots. And it's like the homo thug stereotype is always presented to us. I don't know that many homo thugs. Most of the kids I know, they what I call trish, honey. They half fish, half trade. You know, it depends on where you catch the girls. That's, you know, right. And I think a lot of the times the messaging is what affects us. That because they're black, let's put a hip hop beat to it. Because if you're talking about sexual decisions and choices, you're probably directing that conversation towards grown women. If you're directing it towards kids, that's fine. You could put all that music and shit in there. But me as a grown man, don't come to me with no motherfucking hip hop song about Truvada and PrEP, because that's gonna be dumb to me. I'm gonna be looking at that shit like, what, you don't think I have the comprehension skills to read this and find out what it is? So I really just think it takes a lot of different conversations, like you said. And at the end of the day, like Tone said, nothing will be at first it's a general collection of information, but in that general collection of information, we need to find out how we can address individuals that aren't even getting collected. You know, because the individuals that are getting collected are us. We know our information has been collected. We know about HIV. We have the education, and we've been used to disseminate that information in our communities. Who we need to worry about is the individuals that are like, fuck it, I don't care. You know, to the females that are out there just like, I ain't gay, so I don't have to protect myself. You know, that's a gay man's disease, because in our culture, especially black people, HIV and AIDS is still looked at as a homosexual illness and a homosexual disease. And if you get it, you're probably out there playing to somebody else. You know, it's not going to be like, oh, I was married and my husband brought it to me because he was sleeping with another lady and she was already HIV positive. It's always that homosexual element that's put on it in our community.
Yeah, like
that's why I do not allow people to make excuses for their sexual behavior, because I'm not going to allow you to be like, oh, I accidentally sucked dick, or oh, the dick, he was just, oh, girl, and you know, my booty hole came out. And, I just,
it fell out.
You know, you just, I cannot sit here and say, yeah, I support PrEP, and then on the other hand, accept people's excuses for foolishness. Mm-hmm. I say, if you're going to be on PrEP, if you're going to know about these prevention measures such as condoms, dental dams, and other things, you should also be responsible enough to say, if I fucked up and I slipped up, that's my fault. We're running out of little time, so we're going to wrap this episode. We hope you guys check us out next week and just really get to enjoy us in the topics. Tonight, we really wanted you to focus on PrEP, accountability, and responsibility for all your sexual decisions. And remember to,
let's fight back.
Let's take revenge.
Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Revenge. That's R3VNG. Or give us a call at 323-329-9912. Next week on Truth Be Told.
Then why shouldn't he get his name showed across on the news and stuff? Because you don't know who he infected, and maybe somebody needs to get checked out so then they can take care of
Well,
that.
the thing is down to you to decide whether you're going to have unprotected sex or not. You can't put that off onto somebody else.
Like the old saying says, it takes two to tango. Mm-hmm. So you knew what you were doing, drunk or not.
At the end of the day, it does not help community norms and stigma when you try to criminalize people that are HIV positive. It does not help it. All it does is villainize something that we've been trying to help make people perceive as it can happen to everyone.